As a newer online real estate company in the early 2000s, Redfin experienced growth, but slowly. As one of the primary real estate companies utilizing technology, it was assumed that the company would make big strides. Unfortunately, even today, after doubling its revenue in just the last few years, from 125.4 million in 2014 to 276 million in 2016, Redfin still only had a max of 2% market share in even the strongest of their markets. For this reason, our group questioned why, despite seemingly successful programs, an efficient website and data analytics, improved customer care through the years, and even decreasing their competitors' market share by 8% over the years, the company still had such a small market share. After carefully reviewing the case, it seemed evident that the questionable market that is real in the questionable market that is real estate, one of the most important competitive advantages a company can have is awareness, which Redfin lacks. Whether it be confusion over what services the company actually provides, preferring face-to-face sales, or simply not knowing the difference between the multiple home selling website companies that are available now, Redfin was not receiving the customer awareness and loyalty that would place it just that much farther ahead. The company only spent approximately 10% of its revenue in the past few years on advertising, despite its competitors who had a much larger market share and were spending almost half of their revenue on advertising. If a company is relatively unknown to the public, the company will not receive customers, a reputation, profit, or much less market share. Fortunately, the company has hinted at potentially spending more money on advertising, given the new resources it has earned from going public, and we encourage them to do so.
Moving on to the strategic issue, even with a 40% growth in 2016 under the newfound direction of Glenn Kelman, Redfin still had only captured 0.5% share of the total US market and a small 2% share in its strongest market. There seemed to be a high probability for Redfin's exponential success in the future. Redfin's website was being used by many people, but the brokerage services component of Redfin's website was virtually unknown and unused by all these people. This is why their market shares were still so low. This is also when the rivalry amongst other companies started as well. Opendoor, who bought properties directly from the sellers, was the most competitive rival of Redfin. So we get to the overall strategic issue, and it begins with the organization having its overall market share be so small. In addition, traditional real estate brokers were also just more well-known and highly competitive. Most importantly was the management of the capital fund they brought in from Redfin's middle of 2017 IPO. The strategic issue Redfin ran into after collecting the funds from their IPO was how these funds would be allocated and help them gain market share and gain a competitive advantage over traditional real estate brokers. Redfin needed to contemplate and act on the following decisions wisely to be a competitive firm in the industry of real estate, which were what portion of the funds should Redfin allocate for the advertising, what channel should they use, and with competitors like Opendoor entering new markets, should Redfin be expanding as well? Some implications were basically if Redfin does not address these issues immediately, they could be potentially missing out on millions of dollars of unrealized revenue simply because they decided not to allocate enough funds to advertising or simply choosing the wrong channel of advertising. Clearly, Redfin has done a poor job in the past advertising their brokerage service. This is why their market shares are so small and their competitors and rivals are such a massive threat. They need to address this issue immediately because their rivals are closing in on them and they will miss out on potential revenue, clients, or emerging markets by not addressing the strategic issues just mentioned.
So we'd like to start to look at some key financial and strategic indications of how Redfin has been doing in the past and where they'd like to go in the future. So we already highlighted how Redfin has a 0.5% share of the overall market, and they have the desire to garner a larger percent of the real estate industry, which saw $265 billion change hands in 2016 alone. It is shown that Redfin's market share has been steadily increasing in their 3 sub-markets, and revenue and gross margin are increasing at a significantly higher rates. The following are a few indicators of Redfin's desire to grow and increase market share, as well as their comparisons to a few competitors. Starting with Redfin has shown the desire to go through their IPO in 2017 and increasing the number of their full-time agents from 422 in 2014 to 763 in 2016. The success of their IPO shows demand for the company and belief from investors. Growth in full-time agents is linked to Redfin hoping to expand its brokerage program and become more mainstream in the real estate market. However, Redfin's competitors are putting more investment into marketing and as such, expanding at a faster rate. I decided to focus on Zillow as their main competitor because they had the most data available and are the most direct customer or competitor to Redfin by being online as opposed to the traditional brokers. Redfin is averaging an investment of about 10% of revenue into marketing in the years 2014 through 2016, while Zillow, for example, was investing 47% of their total revenue directly into marketing and sales. Zillow had an average annual growth in revenue of 65% over this time, where Redfin only had a 46% annual growth in revenue during this time. It is important to know that Redfin and Zillow are both operating at a loss. In the same years from 2014 through 2016, Zillow had a $192 million operating loss, which has a 132% annual average increase. Redfin, on the other hand, had an average decreased net operating loss of 1%. From these financial and strategic indicators, Redfin can withstand increased investment in marketing to increase awareness of the brokerage program.
In order to gain a full understanding of the internal and external factors affecting Redfin, I decided to begin with a SWOT analysis. What I learned from conducting the SWOT analysis is that the major strengths of Redfin are their wide market presence with dealings in over 80 markets, a cost structure which allows them to keep prices low and guarantees relative affordability to their customers, and the understanding that many people are fed up with the housing market in general, and they have created their business with the technological foundation that allows them to circumvent a lot of the hassle that potential customers would ordinarily have to suffer through, such as charging a flat rate to sellers to list and advertise their property on Redfin, and only charging 2/3 of the average commission, while also guarantee there will not be any potential for charging double commission from the buyer and the seller. Lastly, Redfin seems to always be ready to update their model to adjust for small changes to consumer demand as well as demand from their brokers. For example, Redfin, after being criticized for their relatively impersonal buying and selling experience, began to offer unlimited free, no obligation home tours. The main weaknesses that I found were that because their process was online and remained relatively impersonal, their appeal often attracts niche markets, turning a lot of potential customers away. Another weakness is that Redfin is losing market share and seems to be unable to keep up with the growth of the market. Redfin has many opportunities to grow their market share, however. One of the main opportunities available to them is to continue their focus on internet sales. More and more people are becoming more comfortable with making deals online, and our current environment caused by COVID-19 only seems to perpetuate their business model and create an even higher demand for their services. The main threats affecting Redfin are their competitors in similar markets. Also, the technological advancements of their competitors. The main advantage of Redfin are online, which gives customers ease in viewing and researching homes and sales on their sites. And if their competitors were allowed to continue advancing without them advancing, they would quickly be overtaken in the market. To gain a better understanding of the external factors, I conducted a Pestel analysis. The political factors I found to be notable were that Washington's Northwest MLS almost took away their MLS certification and also charged them a fee because their brokers were being overly aggressive. The economic factors would be because Redfin is located in so many markets, they have to be careful with varying interest rates and foreign currency exchange rates. While social factors would be because Redfin is primarily online, they should be careful to assess the technological trends and the average age of the population, to make sure that the countries they are present in are capable of making and comfortable with making online purchases. While while the technology factors are that it is important that as technology develops, Redfin does not get left behind. Additionally, Redfin needs to have a complete understanding of the technological capabilities the average consumer and the prospective markets have. Environmental factors include just a simple trend toward in the world and certain markets towards dealing with eco-friendly waste, which they should be aware of. While legal, Redfin is affected legally in two main aspects: consumer protection laws and employee protection laws. As long as Redfin adheres to real estate laws and price protections, they will remain generally unaffected.
All right, so the primary tool that I chose was McKinsey's 7S's, which consists of strategy, structure, systems, shared values, style, staff, and skills. The elements that I believe to hold the most value from the data are strategy, skills, and staff. The strategy and hope for Redfin is that someone looking for real estate will utilize every feature available that they offer. Redfin differs from Zillow Group by offering additional features such as agents to assist with the process. Zillow does not act as a brokerage. Instead, they charge realtors a fee for advertisements. Data about Redfin's advertisement expenses concludes that Redfin is more drawn to spending their money on other sectors of their business. For example, Redfin spent only 10% of their total revenue on advertisements compared to Zillow's group's total 47%. Skills and staff are the two most important factors that play into the final transaction of a real estate encounter. Traditionally, buyers will deal with one and only one buyer's agent and on a personal level until the transaction is finished. For example, that agent picks them up and shows them every house that they want to see. Redfin does not follow this, and instead customers are assisted by whatever agent is available during a time slot. Redfin prides themselves on their strategy to give back half the normal buyer's agent commission back to the buyer. However, will buyers regret the bargain price if the experience was not really there? That leads me to talk about the VRIO framework, specifically the V of the acronym, value. Redfin begins marketable trait in their low prices. Their biggest marketable trait is their low prices. Along with their great online experience, this is their competitive advantage and has brought them their success in the sector of buying and selling via agents.
Okay. As my teammates have mentioned many times earlier, the primary strategic issue for Redfin was the lack of brand awareness across the board. Although our main recommendation clearly was simply spending more of their earnings on direct advertising, there are a few alternatives that our group considered possible, useful, and could even lead to improvements in their main area of weakness. Our first and most significant alternative solution to bring company awareness is opening up a physical brick and mortar in communities. Although Redfin has opposed returning back to traditional ways of selling or buying homes, it is repeatedly mentioned in the textbook how many customers prefer to know their real estate agent, to have an emotional in-person selling or buying experience, and to have their hand held through the process of selling or buying a home. The constant presence of not only the building itself, but the agents within the building in the community would allow Redfin to gain and keep clients, learn more about the areas they're working in, gain community trust. And all of these things will bring more traffic to their website and more revenue to the company. In regards to the community, our second alternative recommendation was to utilize partnerships within the community, regardless of whether or not they're there. Partnering with nonprofits, schools, or sports teams would bring more brand awareness and would establish a positive, influential presence in the community to show that they care about the clients who they may gain. Finally, simple changes to their current models would help bring more awareness about what they are and help them stand out to their competitors. It's stated in the case study that many people believed Redfin and Zillow to be the same company or to do the same things. However, Zillow does not have brokers and Redfin does. To focus on the aspects of Redfin that they have that their competitors do not have would be beneficial for Redfin. It is known that Redfin uses a traditional and progressive mix of real estate methods to sell, and this is different than their competitors, which they should emphasize.
All right. As we have stated, the strategic issue facing Redfin is how to put a larger stake in the market cap in the industry. Redfin's market share has been growing at a very slow rate, and the investments being made by competitors such as Zillow and Opendoor put them at a significant disadvantage when it comes to the online marketplace for real estate. Previously, Redfin believes it could operate as an online brokerage, but has suffered from a major roadblock for customers. This is the way homeowners and buyers are used to buying and selling a home and are reluctant to go online or speak with an unknown broker. Redfin acknowledged early that customers prefer a connection with their broker, and homeowners and sellers are less likely to find that online. In this way, Redfin could stand to gain if it is able to develop a brick and mortar base. Redfin will continue to operate online and will combine customer lists to broaden its market cap. Rather than investing in a crowded online brokerage, Redfin could establish itself as a joint website and brick and mortar venture. This will be a major bonus for Redfin to work with customers who prefer working with a traditional broker, and also find new customers who are younger and willing to work online. Thank you.